Moab, Utah is known for having some of the greatest off-road trails in the world. It's a place filled with scenery, history, and adventure. But what happens if you want to visit this magical place and you're not comfortable with taking trails like Metal Masher or Hell's Revenge? Don't worry. Today, I'm going to share with you some of our favorite trails in the Moab area that will get you out exploring even if you don't have a rock crawler. So come along and let's see which trails you can do in your stock SUVs, Subarus, or like us, stock Tacomas. So first off, to see everything that Moab has to offer, you're gonna have to probably get a little bit dirty. So no matter which trail you're gonna pick, just be prepared that you might get some sand, dirt, or maybe even some mud inside your vehicle. So please plan accordingly if you're not comfortable with that. First section of trails that we're going to cover in today's video are more suitable for your small crossovers. Think like all-wheel drive vehicles, not something that has a typical four-low system. Think of your Equinoxes, Ford Escapes, or maybe even some of your Subarus that are more base and we're not talking the wilderness trim. So number one is Schaefer Trail. Located in Canyonlands National Park, this trail is iconic with its daring switchbacks. I'm sure that you have seen pictures of this, but don't let those switchbacks deter you. The road is actually pretty easy and mostly mild. It is smooth and doable for most vehicles. If you don't have all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, we do recommend only attempting this trail when it's dry. Also, if you're not good with cliff edges, this isn't the trail for you. Next, this is one of my personal favorites, and we actually did part of the trail when it was wet in a base Subaru Outback, and it is Onion Creek. This is a short 11.5-mile trail that's located on the northeast part of Moab off of Highway 128 and offers some amazing views. This trail is a winding dirt road for the most part with several creek crossings. Don't let the creek crossings scare you. Normally, they're around 6 inches or less in the deepest sections. Keep in mind that if there is rain in the area, this could become impassable due to flooding. My next favorite on the list, and I'm sure you've heard about this one if you're even looking or researching into Moab, Gemini Bridges. Located on the northwest side of Moab off of State Highway 133, this trail features some of the most spectacular geological features near Moab. I know Moab's got some pretty awesome ones, but this one, instead of being your typical arch, features bridges. This trail for itself is mostly easy with a few washouts possible if there's been any recent storms. Keep in mind that this trail is extremely popular and you'll probably need to share the trail more often than not if you travel through this region. Also keep in mind to watch the BLM proceedings on this to know if it's going to stay open or not. At the point of recording this video, this trail area is still open without any permits required. If you're more adventurous and you want less people in this area, if you have a high clearance four-wheel drive vehicle, because 4-low is required for this side trip, is going down Bull Canyon. Bull Canyon will let you see Gemini Bridges from the bottom side, and it's just a short little hike after you four-wheel in there. But if you are just in a stock SUV, you want to stay topside for this one. If you love sand and you like to play in the sand, or you have kids who like tunnels and like to play in the sand. Did I mention playing in the sand? Because I feel like I haven't mentioned that at all. Well, Tusher Tunnel is the trail for you. Now, this is our favorite easy trail, and honestly, we've taken several different vehicles down this way. Sand conditions are the only thing to keep in mind. So located northwest of Moab off of Mill Canyon Road. This trail is sand-filled, the light that leads you to a sandstone tunnel. See, sand, lots of sand, right? Most SUVs can make it to the tunnel with no problems as long as the road is dry. So even though there's a lot of sand, it can get muddy because you will have to cross a wash to get to the part that connects you to Tusher Tunnel. The other caveat with this one is that airing down may be required for most vehicles due to the sandy conditions as you get closer to the tunnel. Now, if it's super hot, this sand is different than your beach sand. They kind of call it blow sand in Utah. So the hotter the sand is, the harder it is to drive on it. So if it's super hot in Moab, you're gonna want to save this adventure for probably an early morning instead. This is a fun adventure if you can make it there, and most Subarus and crossovers shouldn't have a problem with it as long as you don't take the way our Tacoma did when we took the Jeep bypass instead of the regular bypass. So now we're gonna move on. So the vehicle, this is more for more of your elevated ground clearance. So think Subaru Wilderness. So something that's a little bit more aggressive than your base with a little bit more ground clearance. You can even think Ford Explorer, Jeep Cherokee, but the non-Trailhawk version. We're talking your basic family SUVs here. With careful tire placement, you can make it a lot farther than most people think you can. Picture Frame Arch. So Picture Frame Arch is a short trail that leads you to the popular area of Behind the Rocks. Now, I can hear you freaking out just a little bit. Behind the Rocks is an extreme rock crawling area in Moab. There are some bypasses around it, and the main road that takes you to Picture Frame Arch is doable for most high clearance vehicles. Of course, depending on sand conditions, just like most things in Moab, depends on sand conditions or depends on the weather. If you have a rock crawler, feel free to do the rock crawling part and go through Behind the Rocks. But if you don't, there is a mix of rock and sand that will require high clearance for your SUV. And if you don't go all the way to the arch, you shouldn't have any problems. Next one, and this one is a very long trail, and it depends on how you want to do this. You can either go to Moab, Utah to Montrose, Colorado, or the traditional way of Montrose, Colorado to Moab, Utah. And the trail we're talking about is called the Rim Rocker. So the Rim Rocker is a more popular trail that's been getting more fame over recent years. And if you're looking for something that is a little more overlandy, and it's not going to destroy your rig, Rim Rocker is a trail for you. Rim Rocker is about 160 miles of dirt road trails that connects you to these two places. It features some of the best of the Colorado Plateau and has some of the most epic views that you'll see of this area that you can't get anywhere else. This trail is a guaranteed adventure. Now, if you don't want to have pinstriping on your vehicle, we recommend only doing the Colorado side to the Utah border and hitching the highway from there. If you want a little bit more adventure and you're not afraid of pinstriping, you can continue on the Utah side into Moab. Just keep in mind, there is a lot of overgrowth of shrub oak and you will get pinstriping. It is guaranteed on this trail. The next one on our list is Spring Canyon Bottom. Are you ready to tackle another shelf road that's not too extreme, but might get your blood pumping a little bit? Well then, Spring Canyon Bottom is for you. As you drive this trail, it'll seem as if nothing is out there. You're just looking out onto the desert like, where is this thing? Isn't there a canyon supposed to be out here? And all of a sudden, bam, there will be this massive canyon lying before you. You'll follow the narrow shelf road down a massive cliff to the canyon bottom. If you're new to shelf roads, this one is a great one to try out. Honestly, it's wide enough where you're not doing some of those epic pass moves you see on some of these off-road trails in Colorado. And also, what's great about it is it's nothing that's too off camber. The trail is mostly flat as you go down. There are some rocky bits, so I don't want to mislead you there, but you're not going to be tilted toward the cliff edge, which is what gets most people upset about Shelf Road. The last part of this section is Long Canyon. This trail was almost impassable due to recent flash flooding in Moab. There was a lot of damage done to the trail due to a lot of rains that they had. As of this recording, I believe the trail has been fixed. So just keep in mind and look at current conditions when you're looking at this trail. Always check with the BLM before running it. That's our recommendation on most of these trails, but this one specifically, since they do maintain and fix it. You want to run this trail from top to bottom for the spectacular canyon views. You can run the trail in both directions. However, we prefer it top to bottom. We personally like this trail for its iconic Moab boulder. So our last section of trails that I'm going to discuss in this video are more for your stock trucks. So you're thinking of like a stock Toyota Tacoma like we have, or your Ford Rangers, stock Jeep Gladiators, those kind of things. You could probably even get some regular full-size F-150s and Ram 1500s without any issues. If you have a Chevrolet Trail Boss, then that should be doable as well. This section does leave your Subarus behind due to some of the requirements that are set for these trails. So our first favorite on the list, which I personally don't quite understand why they require four-wheel drive 4-low for this trail, because honestly, it would be something I think a Subaru could do without too many issues, is White Rim Trail. This trail is also specific to Canyonlands National Park, and you will need a permit should you decide to run it. You can either do it with buying camping spots to do overnight, or you can buy a day use permit. If you do a day use permit, this trail is very, very long and will take you all day to do, you'll be exhausted by the end of it and tired of bouncing up and down. The caveat with this trail, as I mentioned, is that a four-wheel drive with 4-low is required. Thus, that leads out your Subaru Wildernesses to be able to do this trail. The X-Mode does not qualify for that 4-low requirement. The trail itself is about 71 miles in length and has some of the most epic canyon views for a trail. And honestly, if you haven't seen it and you haven't done it, this needs to be on a bucket list for you for off-roading in Moab. The hardest part, honestly, with this trail is keeping your eyes on the trail, because you see all of the epic scenery around you with all of those amazing views. So the next trail that we're going to talk about is Dellenbaugh Tunnel. And you probably haven't heard of this one because it is actually an offshoot of the Secret Spire Trail. And honestly, I'm surprised it took us this long to get on it, but I'm now recommending it because it is a pretty neat little offshoot. And if you're wondering what kind of vehicle, you could do a Jeep Renegade Trailhawk. I would have no problems taking one there, as well as any of your Jeep Cherokee models. I would be hesitant with a Subaru Wilderness due to the approach angle required. So if you have a lifted one, you might be able to do this. Did take our stock 2022 Toyota Tacoma on it. So this is really a test of your approach angle for all of those stock vehicles out there and some departure issues. And also if you're longer wheelbase, you're gonna have to watch that breakover. So it's a good way to expose yourself to some of the small ledges and slick rock climbing that you can do with your vehicle. So you're ready to up your game, aren't you? You're totally ready. I can see it. Our next recommendation, and you can do this 100% stock as long as you're okay with scraping just a little bit. Yeah, just a tiny bit, is Fins and Things. Now, I'm sure a lot of you off-road enthusiasts have watched TFL and know what Fins and Things looks like, and you know that stock vehicles are capable of doing it. We completed the trail in a 2015 Ram 1500. Fins and Things overall is an amazing trail, and it is one of our personal favorites. It's a great place if you want to try out your driving skills on slick rock. It's a great place for you to practice those skills without too much exposure like on Hell's Revenge. This trail itself features slick rock climbs and slick rock descents. But that sounds like fun, right? You've done that, Fins and Things, but you're not quite wanting to get into the crowds of Hell's Revenge, but you would like to have something that has a little bit of everything that we've talked about. And that trail is Dome Plateau. Dome Plateau is our current favorite trail. I know, if you've seen our videos in our Tacoma, we might have regretted a few things, but honestly, it is the forgotten trail that everyone overlooks in Moab. It's fantastic for stock vehicles. You don't need to have a lift. It would help you out, like if you're in a long bed like us. It's really a great trail for anybody who wants to get everything Moab has to offer. And what I mean, it has it all. It has it all. You have rock crawling, steep ledges, slick rock driving, epic views, and if you're adventurous, you can even make it to an arch. Epic Moab, right? In our opinion, this trail is everything about Moab. And honestly, without having so many crowds, it's pretty pleasant and it's really nice to be able to spend your day on the trail, just you, your family, and your vehicle, enjoying some nature. Moab is an amazing place and has adventures just waiting for you. If you want more information on some of the trails that we mentioned in this video, we have this Moab playlist available for you in case you want to check out the trails in further detail. We hope to see you out on the trails soon, and you better go out and enjoy some of those Moab trails. Bye for now.